This is probably the stupidest thing that I've done yet. So much water in the air. So you can see it's still going strong even though it's absolutely soaked. Good morning everybody. My wife and I, this is Becky, we're at Henrhyd Falls in South Wales. It's a really big falls, apparently the biggest in South Wales, and gonna try and photograph it. It has been raining a lot as well, so I'm expecting there to be a lot of water, and yeah, I can just see it now and there's lots of water coming over. Sometimes when coming to a location like this, you have the temptation to literally go in, photograph the waterfall, come back out, and that's it. But you're kind of missing out on some potential photos. So when you do come to a location, have a look around, keep your camera out, and just photograph everything. And that's actually a good point. I don't have my camera out, so I'm going to get it out right now. Another thing is, when you're at a location like this, to keep the hood on your camera, especially when it's raining. That'll stop any water getting on the lens. Now, I've just photographed the moss on this tree. I thought it was quite interesting, the way that light was catching the back side of it. So just photograph what you find interesting around you. And don't worry about getting that perfect shot. Just start using your camera. All right? How you doing? Now, I promise you, I'm not just going to take pictures of trees covered in moss. There are a few other things to photograph down here. But I did find this tree covered in moss really interesting. It's looking old and decrepit. There's just something interesting about it. And because of the valley, it's kind of being backlit again. I think there's some big dark clouds over this side of the valley. So, how can I photograph this? Got the 85mm on at the moment. I'm just taking different photographs with this lens. I'm shooting at 1/125th of a second, f1.8, ISO 1250. So that kind of shows how dark it still is and how much of a dreary day it is. But these cameras can handle those high ISOs and you can still get some great photographs. Right, so if you want to walk out onto the bridge, I'm going to direct Bex a little bit here. I'm going to get her to stand in the middle of the bridge because someone in a nice bright top stands out and it brings a human aspect to the photograph that you're taking. So if you look up towards the waterfalls and just maybe, yeah, stand there, that's it. Okay, so walk towards me with your head up and walk away. She loves this, honest. It's the only time I get to tell her what to do. Now it's going to get really loud from here on out, so I'll probably have to shout because those waterfalls are huge. But hopefully the audio will come through and hopefully you'll be able to hear what I'm saying. Bex is really shy. Oh wow, that is a huge falls. It's probably not the biggest in the world, but apparently the biggest in South Wales at, I think it was 27 meters or 90 feet. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So there's loads of spray coming off it today. Lots of water coming over the falls. Hopefully with this one we can get behind it as well. But we're probably going to get a little bit soaked. Now when you get to a location like this, it's almost tempting just to photograph that waterfall and nothing else. But you want to think about the environment around it. Now the lens is getting a bit wet. What can I use? This is one of the problems with waterfalls as well. All that spray coming off soaks the lens really quickly, so you've got to be quick in getting the photograph. There's a lot of spray coming off today, but it's pretty cool. Now, stupidly, I put the wrong lens on, and I wouldn't advise this, but I'm just going to quickly change the lens. This is probably the stupidest thing that I've done yet, but hopefully it'll work. I want to put a super wide angle lens on without getting any water on the sensor. It's all going wrong. Right, sensor's covered, lens is covered, lens is back in. This is a bad idea. Wow. Because it's so big and vast, I'm going to try and get a massive pano. I think it's really cool. So I've got f4, ISO 640, 1/60th of a second. And the lens is still dry at the moment because I've kept it pointing down. So here goes. I'm going to quickly snap through these, and I'm going to overshoot it. The back of the camera is completely soaked, but hopefully it'll make for a good photograph. Right, that's it, we're going. I love this. Let's go. And there's so many drips, so much water in the air. Hopefully the mic's still working as well. That was pretty cool. But if you are doing that, I'd suggest getting something on your camera, like a bag, just to try and waterproof it a little bit. This camera's pretty wet. So I'm going to try and dry it off and get some shots down here. You've got another tissue. That glove is really wet. So I'm thinking maybe down here somewhere. That'll look pretty cool. So you can probably tell my camera's pretty wet, but nowadays, if you've got this clip in the top, covering those electrical points, and you don't get the bottom dipped in water, these cameras can handle it. They can handle a lot more abuse than you think. We're probably about 50 feet, 60, 70 feet away from the base of it, so it does look really tall and it does look really prominent. And that's why the 15mm will work really well. What I'm going to do now is hold the camera handheld and work out what my frame is going to be before I even think about using the tripod. And I'm going to try not to fall in the water. So I'm thinking there's some nice little streamy bits in here. So I'm thinking maybe under here somewhere. Let's get the settings right first. I'm thinking somewhere, I'll take a quick shot at 1/60th of a second. If you're taking photos of waterfalls and you haven't got a tripod, try and find something solid to lean on. My front element's still looking good. 1/60th of a second, the water's moving quite quickly, so this might work. But what I'm going to do is take a few different shots at different exposure times to blur the water a little bit more and a little bit less. So, I'm going to put it there, bracing the camera, focus is good. I'm just going to wait for this spray to clear. Come on, go away. Right, there we go. So I'll frame it up quickly and get the shot. It's a little bit dark, so I'm going to slow my shutter speed down again so I'll get a few in this one. That's 1/15. That's 1/5. Let's go even slower again. 1/3. Half a second. Let's change the aperture. The lens is getting really wet now. Half a second, f8, ISO 50. So that's what I mean by getting water on the lens. So try not to do that. Now I'm going to get that shot down the bottom, and then we're going to run away from all of this water and spray. Right, let's get this one. What I want to try and do is get the waterfall and this water in the foreground. I'm going to check focus, see where it is. That all looks good. Everything's getting far too wet, which is probably a bad idea. So just before I take the shot, I'm going to get a nice clean dry lens. I've got 2 seconds, so I'll press it, jump out the way, and hopefully that'll be right. And that's probably how not to do it. You all right? So now we're out of the spray. Everything's got very, very wet though. I spent a lot more time in that location than you probably should with your kit, but this just shows how durable our cameras are these days. They're fantastic bits of kit, and they can take a hell of a lot more than you think, most of the time. Now I'm heading home to dry off all my kit, but if you like this video, click subscribe, hit the like button, comment below, and also sign up for my weekly newsletter, and this will give you first dibs on all of my videos. I'll see you later.
I would like that.